Welcome to today's session of CRM function online training. So let's start with what we'll get in today's session of transaction processing. Today's session is divided into three parts. In the first part, we'll look through how an item category is determined in a transaction. In our second part, we'll try to create a business transaction and see how item category is determined in a transaction based upon certain parameters. And in our third part, we'll look at the various customizing options that are present in a business transaction that controls the different functionalities. So let's get started. So in our first session of transaction processing, we learned how the header part is controlled by a transaction type. So the transaction type controls the different header level data such as parties involved, the notes, the assessments, the various attachments, the transaction history, dates, organization data, the change history, and so on. So these all data were being controlled by our transaction type. And we learned how the item data which contains the product is being controlled by an item category. So we learned that the item category drives how the item could be processed in the transaction. So with this, we were left with the most important question of how the item category could be determined in the transaction and on what parameters it depends. So now, without further delay, let's understand the different parameters that are required for item category determination. There is one parameter that is known as item category group. So item category group represents the item categories allowed for a product. It enables product to be grouped together from a business perspective and the relevant item category to be determined when processing business transactions. During business transaction processing, the system determines the item category based on the item category group specified for the product and the business transaction type and proposes it in the respective document. So as you can see from the screenshot, from the GUI, I have displayed a product in COMPR01. So we have a field in the sales and distribution tab as item category group, where item category group norm has been displayed. From the web UI, if you see, in our product, in the processing data, we have the item category group maintained. So we get the item category group from the product. Then we have another important thing which is known as item category usage, which generally comes from a program. The item category usage is generally used for items that do not refer to product, like billing request items. Now let's look into item category determination. Item categories are copied automatically to the transaction item using item category determination and can be overwritten in the transaction item. Now this should be set in customizing. The item category determination proposes the item category that needs to be default while business transaction processing based on transaction type, item category group, item category of the higher level item, and item category usage when you're executing a transaction. So the transaction type is automatically determined. When you enter the product, we get the item category group information from the product. The item category usage comes from a program, and in case we have a higher level item category, as I have explained a scenario of leasing where we can have a financing product as well as a physical product. So in those kind of scenarios, we can have a main item category. So like if I have a leasing scenario where I have a financing product like lease or loan, and I have a physical product such as an automobile which is financed. So the main item category in that reference would be a financing product which is lease or loan. So in those kind of scenarios, the main item category comes into picture. So if we have that main item category, it comes in your picture. If it doesn't have, then it's not needed. Okay. So based upon your transaction type, your item category group, your item category usage and main item category, your item category in a transaction is determined. So this is an example of item category determination. So when a user enters a product in a sales order, for example with a certain item category group, the system finds the relevant item category TAN item category, which is a sales item, based upon the item category assigned to the relevant transaction type TA, and item category group of norm, which is derived from your product. Now you can define per business transaction category and item category group which item category the system defaults for processing business transaction. At the same time, you can define which item categories can alternatively be entered manually for system default. Now let us look into the system, how the item category determination is taking place in our SPRO. We go to the SAP reference IMG. In customer relationship management, in transactions, basic settings, we can go to the define item category determination. We can go to the SAP documentation in the IMG activity documentation, and you can configure in the IMG activity for transaction type TA and the item category group as norm. You can see based upon the transaction type TA, item category group which comes from the product as norm, and with a blank item usage and blank main item category, we get a resulting item category as TAN. We can also specify some alternate item category, giving the user some control over which item category the user wants to select, so as to drive the product in a particular way. As you know, the item category drives the product, how the product will be processed in a particular transaction. So you can give some options to the end user by giving some alternate item categories to be determined. If you don't select it, then by default this item category will get determined. Now it's worth mentioning that for different transactions, the same product will behave in different way. Like if you take the example of the transaction type lead and item category group as norm, the resulting item category that will get determined for a blank item usage and a blank item category will be lead, which is a lead item. So we'll look at the system by creating a transaction type TAN, which is a sales order, and a transaction type lead. So in our CRM web UI, let's try to create a sales order. We can create a sales order by clicking on new. We look for the standard transaction type, that is TA. Please note that we can see various transaction types over here which have the leading transaction category as lead, but SAP has provided leading transaction category standard transaction type TA, that is telesales, for a sales order. We selected TA, and in our product ID we will give HT1010, and we will see what is the item category that is getting determined. So you see it's a sales item. Now to look how this is getting determined, we save the telesales and we'll go into the product information to check the item category group. So if you see HT1010 in the processing data, the item category group is norm. So you can see for the transaction type TA, with the item category group as norm, which comes from product, and with the blank main item category and item usage, the resulting item category that gets determined is a sales item with item category as TAN. So this is what we got, item category is sales item. Now let us create a lead. We search for the leads. and I click on new. We select the standard transaction type deed. We enter the product ID as HT1010 and we get the item category as lead item. So you see, with the same product 1010, it results in a different item category as lead item and sales item in two different transactions based upon our item category determination. So let's try to configure a new transaction type, a new item category, and use it for our item category determination. So let's try to create a transaction type which is similar to a sales order. So we would like to first find out what is the transaction type that has been provided by SAP which resembles our requirement, which fits our requirement, which is similar to our desired transaction type, so that we can copy the standard transaction type into a Z transaction type and make the required changes as per our customer requirement and use it instead of doing it right from scratch, because SAP always recommends you to copy the SAP provided transaction type into your own Z transaction type and do the customization as per your client's requirement. So over here, as we try to create a sales order, so we'll first search for the transaction type TA. We'll take the transaction type TA and we'll create a copy. Now we have to select a key which will start with Z, and we can give it a name as Z999, and we can give it a name Z999 sales order. We give it a name Z999 sales order long S. Click on enter. So you can see two dependent entries already existed, 13 dependent entries copied. So now we go to our transaction type that we created. We go to the display and we see the leading transaction category is sales. Since we are creating a sales order, so the leading transaction category is sales. We can see the various profile that has been entered into it. We also note the item numbering starts with the increment item as 10 and increment sub item is 1. We go and check the assignment of business transaction category, and over here we see there are two transaction categories, sales and business activity. We select the sales and we click on customizing header. So we can see the various options that has been selected over here. We go back and we check the business activity, the customizing header. Now we can change the priority as very high, you can change the goal as arouse interest, you can change the direction as outbound or inbound, and we click on save. Click on the OK. We see the channels that has been assigned or via which the transaction type could be created. You can see the GUI CRM Web Client UI is present. So we have configured our transaction type. Now we need to create an item category that is very similar to a sales item. So we go to define item categories and we find out the item category TAN. So we go to display. So over here the sales item, we have various profiles assigned to this item category. We create a copy of this item category and we give it a name as Z999 and give a description as Z999 sales item. We give the long description as Z999 sales item description and we click on enter. The number of dependent entries copied is 2. We click on OK. We go to assignment of business transaction categories, we select sales, we go to customizing item and you can see the various settings like billing relevance and pricing data, quotation data is present. We won't make any changes over it, but if required we can go and change the profiles as per our requirement. So we are done with our creation of transaction type and creation of item category. Next we can define our own item category group. So we'll create our own item category group. We'll give a name as Z999 and description as Z999 test or Z999 item category group. Click on enter and we click on save and save the changes to a transport request. Now we have our product HT1010. So let's copy the standard product HT1010 and use our item category group over here. So we select the item category group from the drop down, the F for help, and we try to find where Z999 is present. So here we have Z999, Z999 item category group. So we note down the product ID that we have created and we click on save. Now let's set up the item category determination. We go to define item category determination. We click on new entries. In transaction type we will select Z999. In item category group we will select from the drop down our required item category group. So here we have our item category group Z999 and we select our item category that we have created as Z999 and we click on enter. Now we are done. Now let's try to create a sales order of our transaction type Z999 and see. Now again try to create a sales order. So first search for sales orders and we click on new. Let's go to the last page and we select our transaction type that we have created Z999. So you can check the description as Z999 sales order and long description as Z999 sales order long description. That is the descriptions that we have provided while customizing the transaction type. So over here we will select the product that we have created where we have assigned our item category group as Z999 and we click on enter to look for the item category. We need to personalize this transactions assignment block to select the item category to be visible. Select on save and here we have our Z999 sales item. So we saw how we can customize the transaction by copying an existing transaction type. We created a new item category by copying an existing item category. We created a new item category group. We created a new product by copying an existing product HT1010 and we inserted our created item category group in the product to get our new product number, this one, and we use this product in our transaction by setting the item category determinations to determine this item category when we insert this product. So how is this achieved is we have a transaction type, we have the item category group information coming from the product, and we have not inserted any item category usage or any high level item category, and we get our desired item category. So this product could be processed by the rules that has been set within this item category. So you can see the item category determination that we have selected is Z999 is the transaction type, Z999 is the item category group which we have assigned to our product, and the resulting item category that we have designed to get determined is determined in our transaction. SAP has provided a beautiful and useful feature of change history via which we can see the audit log of any transaction. So for setting the change history, we have to make sure that we don't check this checkbox of no change documents. And if this is done, then we can, in the web UI, see a assignment block change history, which contains the audit log for the change that has been made, the change level, whether it's a header level change or item level change, the new value and the old value, the changed by, who made the changes, the change on date, and the change at date. So you can see what was changed, the old field value, the new field value, who made the change, and when was the change made. So it's very useful information when we need to troubleshoot any transaction from application maintenance perspective. So now we'll see how we have done this in our transaction. Now if you look into our transaction type Z999, we made sure that you don't check this checkbox, no change documents. So by default, SAP logs your changes. And if you see the change history, so you can see the area, the key, the org unit, the field, old value, new value. Let's search for our transaction in sales cycle. We had created a sales order. So if you want to search for your transaction type, you can search by credited by, then created by. You can search by user. Click on search. Now let's get into this transaction 316. Now let's personalize and bring the change history. Here we have the change history, so we make it available by shifting it to the displayed assignment blocks, and we click on save. To get our change history to the bottom, we can also take it up and put it over here. So click on the change history assignment block, and you can see the new value, old value, changed by, and you also have the filters. You can sort it by ascending order, by descending order, by custom, and even on changed on date, you can create a custom filter. Okay, so this is very useful functionality. Now you must be curious to know which table stores this change history information. Sometimes it's very useful. So let's go to C11. There is one table, CDHDR. So this stores the change history information at the header level. You can note down the table name, CDHDR. Okay. Similarly, for item level change history, we have a table CDPOS. So CDHDR and CDPOS are the two tables that is related to change history. From the GUI, you can also see the change documents. For that, you have to go to the transaction CRMD_orders. So you can remember this is one T code for creating any transaction, for viewing any transactions from the GUI. So you can search for your transactions from here. You can go and create a transaction from here. So if you click on create, you will be displayed the transaction types in folders, like business activity is a kind of transaction. The leading transaction category is activity. Then we have kind of complaints, financing contract, group contract, lead, opportunity, sales. So these are arranged in kind of folders. Okay. So now I want to view a transaction. Let's take the example of this telesales. If you go to this transaction, click on enter. So this will display the transaction that was created in my graphical user interface GUI. And we will see how you can look for the change history from GUI. So you can go to extras and you can click on change documents. So here you have the change level, the action, date, time, old value, new value. But here you cannot filter it as you can filter it from the UI. For filtering, you have to click over here. Like it's a bit, the UI design is different. You can filter, but the thing is, it's not that simple and not so The user interface is not that great. Here also you can arrange in ascending or descending orders, but you have to select and click on these buttons for ascending order, for descending order. If you want to look for something, if you want to filter, just that the design, the UI design is better if you're accessing the transaction from web UI. The header level information is contained over here. The additional assignment blocks that you see is represented as tabs, and you can visualize those tabs from here. If you want to see the item level information, you can compress the data areas, and that will maximize the item level information. So here you can select, if there are multiple items, you can select which item information that you want to see, and you can see the tabs over here, which tab you want to navigate at the item level. Copying business transactions. To save time creating transactions, you can copy an existing transaction and use this as the basis for a new transaction. Now you can choose whether you want to connect the copied transaction with the original transaction. So in that case, you will be creating a follow-up transaction. For that, you can view the transaction history for a business transaction at any time, and you can find that the follow-up transaction appears in your transaction history. So in the other case, you just want to make a simple copy without updating the transaction history. In that case, we call it a simple copy. We have two options, whether you want to create a follow-up transaction or you want to create a copy of the transactions. So what's the difference between these two? So if you create a follow-up transaction, you will be updating the document flow. So that transaction, the created transaction, will appear in the transaction history. So these two transactions will be interlinked with each other. Whereas by doing a plain copy, you just use a transaction as a template for creating another transaction, but the created document is not linked with the copied transaction. It doesn't update the document flows. It doesn't appear in the transaction history. So when you copy transaction, the system produces a copy and displays it for processing. When the copied transaction is saved, the document flow is not updated. In other words, the copied transaction has no connection to the original transaction. There are other differences as well. When you do a simple copy, the copied transaction and the original transaction have the same transaction type. Means if you copy a lead, you will always get a lead. If you copy an opportunity, you will get an opportunity. Whereas in case of follow-up transaction, you can create an opportunity from a lead as a follow-up transaction, whereas you can also create a lead as a follow-up transaction from a lead. So it can vary. It can be same or it can be other transaction. But in case of simple copy, both the transaction types would be same. Now, in case of copy, the header data and the item data will get copied, and the transaction history will not get updated. So no relationship to the previous issue. Whereas when you create a follow-up transaction, only the header data is copied, and you can select the items. Means if in the lead you have suppose 4 items. So when you are making a follow-up transaction, system will give you a pop-up where you can select, okay, I want this item, I don't want this item. And the transaction history will be updated. But for doing a follow-up transaction, you have to maintain some copy control settings, which will look. You have to make copy control settings for transaction type, you have to do copy control settings for item category, and you have to also make settings for the determination of item category during the copy. But that's the option. So we'll look into it in the system. So let's, in our web UI, let's select the Sales Pro role. Let's open a lead from the recent items. And we will try to create a new lead by doing a simple copy. And we'll see how this lead is used as a template and the document flow is not updated. So let's create a lead by copying this existing lead. So you can know the prospect, the main contact, the status, the start and end date, the group. When you create a new lead, I am given an option to select the sales service organization. So I'm selecting the service organization. You can see the description gets copied, the prospect is copied, the main contact, the employee responsible gets copied. Status is not copied, the dates are not copied, the group is copied. So if I go ahead and click on save, so my new lead will get saved. And now we'll check what all the information that got copied in the system and if the document flow has been updated or it isn't. So we scroll down, we check the partners, employee responsible, contact person, sales prospect. Then we go to transaction history and see if the information get copied or it's anywhere linked to our existing transaction history. So it is not, because we use the simple copy functionality. But let's say I create a follow-up and then I want to create an appointment. So over here you can see the description got copied, the times got copied, employee responsible contact got copied by, suppose select the location as Chicago and I click on save, and now again see that whether the transaction history or the document flow got updated or not. It should get, because I created a follow-up document, so I am basically linking the appointment with the transaction. So I scroll down and I go to transaction history and I check, yeah, I have the transaction history trade show. Right, if I click on this transaction, I'll go back to my existing transaction from where I copied. So I have the lead, and if I go to my lead and I go to transaction history, the appointment shows in the document flow. So these two documents are linked together. Now you must be thinking, why am I getting these three options when I click on follow? You see, I get an appointment, I get a lead, I get an opportunity. So from a lead, I can create a lead, I can create an appointment, I can create an opportunity. Why so? Why not other transactions? Well, this can be controlled via the copy control settings. So we will see to it. Now before we proceed, let me just tell you how to find a transaction type from the lead number. Okay, so we can go ahead and search in the table. So in a C11, you can search for the leads transaction type, CRMD underscore order ADMH. This is the table, CRMD underscore order ADM underscore H, that contains the details of any transaction type header. In CRMD underscore order ADM underscore I, it contains the details of the item information of a transaction. So if we go to CRMD underscore order ADM H and I click on display, I go to click over this, and what I will do is I will give the object ID and I will try to find out the transaction type. So you see my transaction type number is 616. So if I select 616 and I click on execute, so I can see three kinds of transactions that has been created. One is OPPT, one is 0000, and one is ZSPL. And the description, from the description you can find out what transaction type we are looking for. So yeah, we are looking for ZSPL because our description is SP trade show. So this is our process type. So we copy this process type and I go to SPRO and we'll try to look at the copy control settings that has been done. So we'll go to customer relationship management, we'll go to transactions, we'll go to basic settings, and here we have the copy control for business transactions. So there are copy controls for transaction type, there are copy controls for item categories, there are item category determination and copying, and we have some baddies enhancement for copy control. So first we'll go and check in define copy control for transaction type. So over here you have to maintain from which source transaction to which target transactions you can go. So if you select any random transaction type and you click on display, so you can see what are the options that it provides. You can select copy item number, you can select complete reference, You can use your own copying routine wherein you will be writing your own ABAP routines to write your own code, write your own logic for what are the informations that you want to transfer from the source to the target, whether you want to manipulate the information in between. It is also possible via the copying routine. So we have a CRM copy body which we'll look into, and then we can have the option of copy price agreements. We can explore the template hierarchy. So let's find out our transaction type. We deselect this selected transaction type and I click on ZSPL. So if you select ZSPL, these are the transaction types. You can go from ZSPL to appointment, from ZSPL to a lead, from ZSPL to an opportunity, or from ZSPL to an sales methodology. So these are the options, these are the settings that you have made. That's why other follow-up options are not being shown to you. You can create a follow-up transaction from the source transaction to a target transaction for which the matrix has been maintained in copy transaction types. So apart from these, no other transaction type would be available. Now if we go back and we have to maintain different copying control for item categories, just as in case you have done the copy control for transaction type. So if the transaction has items, then the items should or may be required to be copied to the target transaction type. So please note that what are the information based upon which the target transaction item category is copied. We have a source item category and we have a target item category, and if you select any random entry and I click on details, so here we have source item category is ACT and target item category is STAN. We have a description, we can have a copy routine, we can have copy conditions like only copy manual conditions, copy all conditions, or copy conditions redetermine taxes, or do not copy conditions. You can have an option of re-explode structure of free goods. You can fix or copy purchase order data. You can have settings for price agreements or copy campaigns. Okay. So you can have a setting to copy all campaigns or no campaign determination, or do not copy campaigns, redetermine and follow on documents. So these are the various settings that you can do that SAP is provided. Now if you are suppose moving from a lead item to a sales order, suppose you are going that way, so you have to see that how the item category in a target transaction is determined. See, basically if you're creating a sales order by doing a follow-up, so the target transaction type must have an item category determination. But if you want that particular item category should not be determined, but a different item category should be determined when we are creating a follow-on transactions, so you can make settings over here, define item category determination and copying. So over here, the things that are important to note is we'll give the source category, we'll give the target transaction type, and we'll have determine the item category. So the things that are important for this item category determination is the source item category, from which suppose we have a lead item, to a target transaction type as lead, and then we get the item category that we want to get determined in the target transaction. So the source transaction type is not important over here. So this could be one of the good questions, or this could be one of the main factors that you must remember, that while we want to affect the item category determination, so what matters most is the source item category and your target transaction type, and you get the target item category. So what is irrelevant over here is from which transaction you're moving from. The source transaction type is not relevant. Then we have the body enhancement for copying control, as we have seen in the case that we can have a copying routine. So if you click on this node, this is one of the way that you find what is the relevant body. You don't need to remember it. It's CRM copy body. Okay. So these are the various enhancements. If you want to see one of the enhancements, I will select one of the entry and go on display. So this is my body name, CRM copy body, and we can have define some filters. So we have filter dependent body. If you click on interface, these are the various methods like copy, order ID, my. If I double click on one of the methods, so it will open my implementation. So we have a default implementation and we have some Z implementations. This is the Barry empty template. What if I want to add some other entries over here? So what is the effect? So from ZSQL we can go to a lead, from ZSQL we can go to an opportunity, from ZSQL we can go to a sales methodology. So suppose I have a requirement that I want to create an interaction log as a follow-on document from ZSQL. So what I need to do is I will copy this and I click on copy, and over here instead of the lead, what we'll select is interaction log. So we'll use the F4 help and I will select interaction log, and I will give copy item number, complete reference, and I will click on enter and I will click on save. So you see from ZSQL we can go to interaction log. So let's check in the web UI. So this is my transaction. So let's click on follow up. So if you see, we have a new entry that is added to it, interaction log. So you can create an interaction log from the transaction type ZSQL. So you saw that how by copy control we can control what other transaction type you can move as a follow-on document from a source transaction. So if I click on interaction log, I'm presented with the interaction log. I can select this location as New Jersey and I can select save. To see some informations come from my lead, and if I go to the transaction history, I have the lead in the transaction history. So I will go back and see what are the documents that I have linked. So I click on transaction history in the lead. So I have appointment, I have interaction log which has been created from this lead. So these have been updated in the document flow. So this is how we can control what are the documents which you can create by clicking on follow-on documents. Now if we remove these entries from the copy transaction types, then these items will not be available for follow-up. So let's try to remove these 3 entries. Click on delete, and so you just have from ZSQL you can create an appointment and we click on save. So now we'll see in the web UI. So now from our lead 616 SAP Trade, so if we click on follow up, we'll see only one appointment. So you can just create an appointment from this transaction type as we remove the other entries. So we saw how the customizing control can be maintained. We have to first maintain the source transaction, the target transaction types, from which source to which target transaction type you want the follow-up to happen. Then we have to maintain the item categories of you have to link the source item category with the target item categories, and then you can set up the item category determination, though this is optional. Like agent is a source item category of a quotation, and the transaction type, the target transaction type is a sales order TA. So I want the target item category to be TAN, that is a sales order item. We also looked into the functionality of transaction history. So you can have transaction history at header level as well as item level. So the first screenshot shows you a transaction type of a header level telesales. It allows you to display the linking between business transactions, but the related shipping and billing transactions are displayed separately in their own context. And in the second screenshot, you can see the standard order item. So it's a transaction history at the item level. At item level, the same logic is available except for activities, lead, and opportunities. Subsequent reference. You can assign activities and opportunities as a follow-up transaction subsequently. For example, you create a business activity such as a phone call, and after creating it, you notice that it is in fact follow-up from an existing opportunity. So you can then assign the business activity as a follow-up transaction for the preceding opportunity subsequently. So for that you have to define an object reference profile and assign to transaction type, and then you can do some interface settings. So you can assign activities and opportunities as a follow-up transaction to the following preceding documents subsequently. You can note down the list: business activity, task, opportunity, quotation, sales order, sales contract, service order, service contract, service confirmation, complaint, and lead. So you can assign follow-up transactions subsequently from header to header. For example, you can assign an activity or an opportunity to a preceding document such as an order, contract, or quotation. And from header to item level, for example, you can assign an activity or opportunity to an item in a preceding document such as a sales order or a sales contract. Note that you cannot make subsequent assignment from an item to item. During subsequent assignment of follow-up transaction, the document flow is updated automatically. And if you delete the assignment, the document flow is updated accordingly when you save the transaction. Now let's see in the web UI how this functionality works. So here you have an interaction log. So you have already linked it to a lead. Now suppose you want it to lead to some other transaction type. So what you can do is you can click on subsequent assignment, which is present in the same assignment block as that of transaction history, and you will be presented with a pop-up where you can use which reference type you want to link this, whether you want to assign it to activity, a campaign, a complaint in return, or a contract, a financial contract. So here the transaction types are listed to which you can assign, and then the particular instance of a object ID you can search. Like if I want to assign it to the activity, I will just select it from the pop-up. I will search for my activity using the search criteria. Right now I'm just searching randomly for any. Let's assign it to this one. So it pulls the description and I click on assign. So my appointment gets assigned in the transaction history. Now if I travel to this my appointment, I go to transaction history. You see it's linked with this interaction log. So I again go back to this interaction log from my appointment transaction history. So now let's see how you can configure this subsequent assignments object reference profile. So in define transaction types, if you check the settings for interaction log, you can see we have assigned the object reference profile. So let's copy this object reference profile and we go back, and here we have the define object reference profile. We search for the assigned object reference profile that we copied, the activity subsequent assignment. So you can see what are the settings this has been done. So we first have the object relationships. So you can see these are the transaction type where you can assign. Now there is multiple relevance, there is deletion, and there is items. So the items could also be included, whether subsequent assignment could be deleted or not, and whether multiple reference is available or not. Like if I am assigning one financial contract, I can assign multiple number of financial contracts to this interaction log. If I don't select this multiple relevance, then it cannot be multiple references of that particular transaction that cannot be assigned. Like you can only assign only one activity. You can only assign only one complaint in return, but you can assign multiple financial contracts. Now if we go to user interface settings, so this shows which are the transaction types that will be visible in the header level as in the transaction history. So that is applicable only for GUI and not for web UI. So let's use this object reference profile and create our own. Let's give it a name of Z test and I see copy all. So the dependent entries gets copied. So I go over here and I check the object relationships, and I want to keep only, I remove these things which I don't require. I click on delete. So I only have activity, I have a campaign and a lead. Please note, a campaign cannot be multiple reference to a particular transaction. Even if you try, so system will give you a throw error. Like, let's remove the campaign. Let's try to add the campaign. Now let's try to give it multiple reference, and let's try to save it. I will get error. Multiple references are not permitted for campaign. The campaign cannot be multiple reference, because from a campaign you can get only one lead. So you cannot have multiple activities in relation to campaign. SAP stops that. So you can add deletion. Click on enter. So entry with this key is already marked for deletion. That's why we are not able to do it. Okay, let's cancel it. Let's first save it. And now add the campaign with the deletion and save it. If I now go to the object reference profiles, I go to object relationships, I only have the campaign. Now let's add a lead. Let's add an opportunity. So I only have a campaign, lead, and opportunity, and I click on save. So it says that I already have a lead. Let's save it. Let's go back. Delete this empty. So I have activity, campaign, lead, and opportunity. So these 4 entries could be used. Now with that, I will also select that I can assign multiple activities, and I save. So we'll check this functionality. Now my new created profile is Z-test. So I go back and I will assign it to my transaction type, or let's add it to the interaction log. So our transaction type interaction log, we go over here, we go to details, and we delete the object reference profile already assigned to it, and we put our Z-test, and I click on save. Now we'll test the functionality of interaction log in web UI. So in our web UI, in the interaction log subsequent assignment, click on subsequent assignment. Let's see what are the options that we have. We have only 3 options: activity, campaign, and opportunity. So we can assign multiple activities. So let's try to do it. Let's try to find activity. Click on search. Let's assign this activity. Click on assign. Okay, so this is already linked. Let's try to find out some other activity. Click on assign. So I can assign multiple activities. Now try to assign some different transaction type for which I have not maintained, like let's try to assign multiple opportunities. Search for opportunities. Let's link the first one. So click on assign. Try to assign another opportunity. Click on I'm not provided the option twice. Why? Because the settings I have configured it. So if I go back and check the settings that I have made, define object reference profile. I have it over here. Z-test, object relations. In opportunities, I have not selected multiple relevance. So if I select multiple relevance, I would have been able to select the opportunity twice. So let's again try to assign the opportunity. This time the options would be available. And you see, yep, I have the option. So let's try to find a different opportunity. Click on search. Let's assign this one. And I click on assign. So we saw that how we can link various transactions subsequently, and how you can control how many instances do you want to be linked, means whether you want only a single instance or multiple instances, that could be controlled. This is a good feature. So with this, we have covered the advanced functions of transaction type. So we learned how the item category determination takes place. We learned how we can check the transaction history. We learned subsequent referencing. So in our coming sessions, we'll be looking into more functions that transaction processing offers. Thanks a lot for your attention and happy learning.